Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to my talk. I have to tell you, I'm a bit nervous because, well, I'm not going to share a single line of C++ with you at Meeting C++. And I would say once again, because I think that was the case last year as well, we are going to talk about code reviews and how they help you building better teams and also better code. But before we are getting into the details, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Sandor Dargo. I work for Spotify, and I spend most of my free time writing, mostly, but not only about C++. It's a fun fact that I think about a year ago, I started to write about mostly French wine, but in Hungarian, so probably my target audience is not really here. And usually I want to give a special thanks to my wife who is taking care of the kids while I can be here with you in Berlin. But that's more than enough about myself. I want to ask you a couple of questions. And if you would answer yes, please raise your hands. So, have you ever received a code review comment that hurt you? Yeah, I see. Well, yeah, me too. I almost forgot. Yeah, a lot of people. Maybe one that frustrated you. Oh, even more hands. And any that left you totally confused. Yeah, almost everyone. Yeah. Well, yes, that's the case for me too, and that's pretty much why I'm giving this talk. Because, when I ask these questions, I basically ask you about emotions. Have you ever had this emotion because of code review comment? And, well, we often think that, well, we say that engineering is about how you do things technically, but it's not only about engineering is not only about the technical part, it's also about people. Well, you have to solve problems created by people, for people, and usually with the help of other people. Yet we mostly talk about the technical parts, the coding aspects, or sometimes about business processes. And well, I'm not saying that's wrong, that's right, but we still have to talk about the people part as well, because as you answered the question, code reviews just way too often cause stress and sometimes even conflict in the teams. And we have to talk about that, because if we do code reviews right, they are not simply a source of stress and conflicts, but they will help your teams to become better. They'll help you to learn, to build trust with your colleagues, and in the end, to increase the quality of your software. Well, I would say even if you don't do it right, and it leads to a lot of stress and conflict, it will increase the quality of your code, but it will not increase the trust among the people, and I think that's not good. I want to make a couple of things clear before we get into the agenda and the details. There are a couple of things we are not going to talk about. We are not going to talk about formatting or code style. I'll mention certain kinds of style, but not how you format your code. We are not going to talk about technical parts either. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, you should take parameters by const reference or by value. There are many great resources for that. There are great talks about what to point out in code reviews as well. This is not one like that. I'm also not going to talk about how code reviews fit the business process part. There's a great talk. There was a great talk at CPPCon this year about that. I can share the link later. But there are other things we are going to cover, like why we should do code reviews. Because, well, I think most people would agree that we should do code reviews, but there are many people out there who say that no, we don't need that. We are going to cover the reasons and whether they are right or wrong. We are going to cover some emotional parts and some language-agnostic elements as well of code reviews. And we are also going to see what are the consequences of doing code reviews well, or actually not doing them well. So let's quickly have a look at the agenda. First, we are going to see what code reviews are. We are going to cover a different few ways to review code. We are going to see the arguments that I mentioned against having dedicated code reviews. And still, despite those arguments, why we should have them. Then I'll bring 8 or 9 different common pitfalls in code reviews and how they can ruin, I would say, the experience in the team. And I also brought you a formula that I call AIR. I'll break it down later for writing better code. For writing better code review comments. Is that all right for you? Nobody is shouting no, so I take it as a yes. And anyway, it's a bit too late to change it, right? So, what are code reviews? And I'm not going to saying that, well, you know, code reviews when you open a pull request and you start going line by line or however. No, that's not what I want to say. But what purpose do they serve? So first of all, maybe not first of all, we can disagree, code reviews are a tool, or one tool for quality assurance. And code reviews will help you catching inconsistencies in new code or refactored code, and also to maintain standards that you set for your teams. It will help you enforcing style and architectural patterns. And yes, I told you I'm not going to talk about style. Yeah, this is not the style. So enforcing style in an architectural sense, because when we talk about like you know, in terms of formatting and the style of that, you can pretty much automate that. But when it comes to architecture, when it comes to I would say architectural style, that's not something you can automate today, even with the help of AI. So there, you need some human eyes to check if the submitted code is really like how you expect it to be. It will also, it also supports maintaining readability and to increase maintainability, because people can point out things that, for example, they don't understand. And that's probably one of the earliest point when they can do that. So it will obviously increase the maintainability and readability part. And well, obviously it's a part where you can catch some flows, both design flows or flows in logic. So code reviews are a tool for quality assurance, but it's just one tool. It's not a silver bullet. Code reviews are also a way of knowledge sharing. That's an aspect that sometimes we tend to forget about. Because, in fact, you know, you take a pull request and you start doing a code review, and there you can educate about the used language, both as an author and the reviewer. Because don't forget that you can comment your own code, and if you do something that's unusual, you can point it out in a code review. You can share also some unfamiliar APIs or internal tools, again, both as an author and as a reviewer. And you can explain decisions. Maybe it's not the best place for that. Maybe sometimes you will want some architectural decision records, or you want to document it elsewhere. But even in that case, you can link to that document, which sometimes you don't want it to make it. You don't want to, you know, commit it as an inline comment. But this is a solution like in between not sharing and putting into the code, because these comments will stay for a long time in your version control. And it's also a way to avoid that only you know this code syndrome. In a way, you share knowledge and you also share the ownership of code. Because if you approve my pull request, then, well, you become one of the owners of the code. And if there is a bug, well, often the question is not to the person who wrote the code, but also to the one who approved it. But it can go a bit beyond knowledge sharing, because you can use code reviews for mentoring, which is, I would say, a deeper version of knowledge sharing. As I mentioned, you can comment your own code, you can share a lot of information there, and you can elevate less experienced developers by explaining the why and the how. And the reason why I barred there the term junior is not because I want to be PC, I don't want to be, but it's that because you don't only have to explain these things, the whys and hows, to junior people, but also to people who are less experienced in a part of the code base or on a repository. They still might be senior developers, they just don't know this part. And, well, you can use these code reviews as well to help them. And in the end, you can use these reviews to grow confidence, both for the author and as a reviewer, and skills. Because reviewing code, well, requires some skills, and often different skills that you need to write good code. Because it's a place to give feedback, and that's a difficult thing, especially if you want to give feedback with empathy, because without it, it's easy, but that's not going to help a lot. So let's see a couple of ways to have a code review. Do you have an idea of what I'm going to mention here? What are the different ways? No, no, not the polite or impolite, but we are going to talk about that. But at the common pitfalls part. But it's interesting because if I tell you that, okay, ways to review code, probably we all think about the one way, through pull requests, merge requests. But actually, there are many more ways. Code reviews can be done synchronously or asynchronously. And synchronous code review can happen through pair or mob programming, and also at dedicated meetings. Because you can have meetings just to review a pull request, to review code. Well, that's synchronous. And you can have asynchronous code reviews through pull requests. But that's not the only way to make differentiations. We could also say that at the pair or mob programming part, you have, well, the highlighting doesn't, yeah, that works. The pair and mob programming is not dedicated code review. Code review is just a byproduct of the coding process. But when you use dedicated meetings or pull requests, then it's a dedicated way to review code. That's your main goal. You want to review code. So when it comes to pair programming, what's pair programming? It's basically a real-time collaboration between two people sitting in front of the same screen, or maybe not the same screen. Nowadays we can share, and we can sit anywhere in the world, but it's still a real-time collaboration. And you are in a constant and immediate feedback loop. You write something, and the other tells you if you did something wrong, or maybe not, but the chance is there. And I think that, well, again, pair programming is not a silver bullet. You're not going to use it all the time, I think, but it's better to use it all the time than never. And nevertheless, it's great for onboarding and to solve complex problems. And you get a code review as a byproduct of the coding process. And this is quite similar for more programming, when there's no two people, but more people doing coding together, maybe in one room, maybe just online sharing a screen. You can build a shared understanding, and you have the byproduct. You have the code review as a byproduct. This is best for explorative work, I would say, exploratory work, and also to make architectural decisions. And also, an interesting use case would be to bring a new team to very similar level. Well, we could talk about that maybe after the talk in person. I can share some interesting stories. You can have dedicated code review meetings to review code. They are typically pre-scheduled, but they don't necessarily have to be. You can just create a Slack huddle and, hey, I want to share my code. Please help me review it. It can include multiple stakeholders, and I would say this is best for critical code, where you really want the input from many different people, and probably you want to discuss it real time, or to make some architectural decisions. And then there is the async solutions, pull requests, and probably this is what you originally thought when I started to talk about code reviews, and that's what we are going to talk about. But still, I think it's important to notice that there are different ways to have code reviews. So this is the most common style. The problem with it, well, sometimes it can be a problem that it's purely written. So you cannot transmit tone of your voice. You cannot. There's no body language involved, and that can lead to misunderstandings. It's not real time, not at all. Did you ever have to wait more than 2 days for a code review? Yeah? Maybe a week, more than a week? Okay, still too many people. More than 2 weeks? I mean, wait when at the end you receive the code review. Still, it was more than 2 weeks? Yes, okay. Well, that's what I mean. Sometimes you have to wait a lot. But on one hand, it enables flexibility because you don't have to be at the same time zone, you don't have to join any meetings, but it can slow things down. You might even forget what you wrote. So let's have a quick recap, the different forms. So you can have a code review as a byproduct of pair on more programming, where you get instant feedback and you build a shared knowledge, but it can be quite time-intensive and it's not really scalable. You can have dedicated meetings, which is good for alignment, great for getting input from many people, but it has a high coordination cost. And at the end, there are pull requests, where you can do code review. It's scalable, it's flexible, but the feedback is delayed, sometimes too much delayed, and it can lead to tone misunderstandings. That's something we are going to talk about. So let's see some arguments against dedicated code reviews. Some people say that you can replace code reviews by pair programming. And it's true that pairing catches issues early, and it also improves the shared understanding. That's true. One might also say that pair programming in a certain way is part of the shift-left process, because you try to catch issues as early as possible. And that's true. But when you do pair programming, you don't have time to reflect. And you don't really have a broad input. Well, when you do more programming, you have a broader input, but you still don't have the reflection time. Plus, reviews offer a more deliberate approach, because the thing is, when you're doing more programming, you're in a state of mind where you want to create. You want to make sure that you build something that works. But when your mind is in code review mode, well, that's not the place where you want to build something. you want to critique, and you want to make sure that you catch all the issues. And, well, you can't really have the two at the same time. Plus, when you're doing a code review, you're less biased. Because when the two of you are working together or something, you already have a shared context, or you're building a shared context, and you try to be on the same vibes, and you're not going to catch all the issues that you could when you are focusing only on trying to catch those. Others say that code reviews slow us down. Well, sometimes you have to wait more than 2 weeks, right, to get a code review. So it's true that it increases the race to merge latency. Not sure if that term exists. And this latency can lead to merge conflicts, something that we hate. And it can cause a lot of rework. Not going to bring examples of that. But the other problem is you might even forget the details why you did things in a certain way. And then if they ask you in 2 weeks that, hey, why did you do that? Or is there another way? Have you thought about that other way? You might not be able to answer it, or not as fast. But still, despite these latency issues, I think that code reviews are useful because they can prevent later rework, which can be quite costly. Again, I was talking a few minutes ago about the shift left movement, and this is part of it. You want to catch issues as early as possible, so it's better to catch issues at code review time, even if you have to wait again a few hours or a couple of days to get a new review, than doing it later, maybe after a fallback, which can have some other issues, like if it was already in production, and maybe you lost face against your customers. And despite all this, I think async reviews scale better than any other practices that we listed. Something I heard a few months ago, is the term review first policy. Have you heard about the review first policy? Yes. And do you use it? Yes, that's good. So what does it mean? It means that it's more important to review incoming pull requests than writing new code, or actually finish the code you are working on, because if you review code as fast as possible, you unblock other people as fast as possible, and they can start working on new things. Maybe they also unblock you by delivering code that you would depend on. So another argument: they don't catch bugs. Well, it's kind of true, because reviews are not a substitute for testing. That's not their goal. You still need and you still want to have testing. They are more effective at catching different kind of flows. So usually it's not about correctness that much. It's more about catching design flows, issues with naming or unnecessary complexity, or to clear up unclear logic, because maybe when you wrote it, it was evident to you. You didn't realize that it's too complex, but when others review it, well, they spot these. And yes, so the feedback will be more about understandability than correctness. It doesn't mean that sometimes it's not about correctness, because they can still catch bugs. And sometimes that happens even if we write tests. So the trade-offs are real. Reviews take time. They are not perfect. But when you do reviews well, then you'll end up with better code. And I think you'll also end up with a stronger team, because you help to communicate with each other. And you'll also build a shared ownership of the code, which, well, which is desirable. So, I think these are already enough reasons to have code reviews, but I brought a couple more, because code reviews are the last line of defense before you merge something into your code base. And it's essential for the long-term health of your code base. It's the final human check after all the automation. And, you know, AI can help. It helps a bit, but it's not enough. Do you use some bots during the code review process to comment on your code? I also put my hands. Yeah. Do you think it's enough? Is it a replacement? I see heads being shaken. Yes, it's not enough because, well, maybe if we meet in 1 year or 2 years, we'll say that, yeah, it's enough, but it's not for the time being. And I wrote here that AI helps somewhat because one of the consequences of using AI is that we commit more code, we create more pull requests, so we have more code to review. So in that sense, I'm not sure if it helps at all, but, well, it can catch some issues, but there are a lot of false positives as well. Human insight can still catch things that machines cannot, at least not for the time being. Also, code reviews offer a fresh perspective because, you know, the author bias is real. It's very difficult to catch or own mistakes. It's when you write a letter and you read it. It's very difficult to find the spelling mistakes because you read what you want to read. You read what you thought you wrote. And it's quite similar with code reviews. You just think it's good. And what's obvious to you is not necessarily obvious to the others. And the other way around, what's obvious to your colleagues might not be obvious to you. And they can point that out with their fresh perspective. They can also question your assumptions or point out edge cases. Code review is also a great way to leverage diverse insights because people with different kind of experience will notice different things. So if you have, I don't know, in the same team, some front-end developers, back-end developers, some people who are more experienced with databases, they will notice different things. Also, people with different levels of experience will focus on different angles. And now I have a question. Is there anyone here where the role of reviewing code is in the hands of one person? Yes. Why? Process. I know some people who are working in such teams, and a friend of mine said, look, I got promoted, now I'm doing the code reviews. And I was like, what? Is that a promotion? Well, he didn't get a raise, by the way, at that point, but, well, he had this responsibility. But, you know, I really think that everyone should, in a team, everyone should review code. At least everyone should have the right to review code. I was working once in a team when we were thinking about removing that right, but in the end we said no, it's not a good idea. And the only restriction we made for some repositories was that, okay, here we need at least 2 approvals, and one of them must come from one of these 5 to 10 people. Don't remember exactly, it was like 10 years ago, don't have the numbers. But what I clearly remember is that I received very great comments and very thorough reviews from the least experienced person in the team who just came out of university. Because, well, she was focusing on completely different things. She read everything character by character and pointed out everything, every typo or every unclear thing in the logic, things that seniors might not notice because they are focusing on the big picture. And I think both parts are needed. And I think as a result, the code quality will improve. If you have more points of view, if you consider more points of view, you will have higher code quality. Also, you should have code reviews to educate team members. Because, well, this is something we already discussed. Pull requests let senior developers to coach through code reviews, both as author, both as reviewer, and it's a great way for juniors to learn about idioms, architecture, API, and in any case, it's a great place to share reasoning and the alternatives. And all this communication will lead to stronger personal and team relationships, because respectful, that's important, respectful feedback builds up psychological safety, and I think that teams where everyone can review, they will communicate better, because they have to communicate all the time. And as a result, you will have less silos and cliques in a team. All in all, we can say that code reviews don't just improve code, but they improve coders. And I know what you think. You don't like the word coder, you want to see their developer and engineer, but that doesn't read so well. So let's have a look at some common pitfalls in code reviews. Number one, we discussed this. Feedback arrives too late. You have to wait, well, too late depends. Sometimes it's just a few hours, it's already too late. Sometimes it's days, sometimes even a week might be fine. But in general, reviews should happen while you still remember the details. And they shouldn't block you from merging, at least not for too long, because you might have to rework things, you might have to rethink things. Plus, these late reviews can lead to frustration and resistance. What do I mean by resistance? Well, let's say you receive a NIT after a week, and then you say, the reviewer is right, I could probably change that, but then what? I have to wait even a few more days or a week. I'm not going to do that. So that's a danger. So it can result in ignored or rushed changes. What's that? Well, it's speaking about NIT, it's a small piece of stone there in the tire. Should it be there? Do you think it's at the right place? Well, obviously no, it's not at the right place, but is that a problem? No, because maybe you have different issues. Now, I use this picture for a different presentation, for a slightly different point, and someone told that, well, maybe that's why that truck is on its side. Well, maybe, but it's not really probable. But, well, it might be the case. Now, what's the problem here? That's often us, developers, in code reviews. We are focusing on the nits instead of the big picture. And that can be a problem when reviewers are only focusing on the details. Why would we do that? Well, we do it because it's easier. It's easier to look into these small details than focusing on the big picture. And I'm not saying that the details are not important. They can be important, but they can be reworked even later, if you notice it later. Whereas, the big picture is more difficult to change after. It's more difficult to change the architecture later than some implementation details. So here is coming more the emotional part. You have to watch your tone when you make code review comments. because, as we mentioned, written feedback lacks both the tone of your voice and body language. So you write something with the best intention, and it might sound aggressive or passive-aggressive. It might even be, but that's a different problem, because here I assume that's not your intention. And that can erode trust in a team, and it can really discourage open discussion, because people will not want to talk to you then if you use such language. Also, reviewing the reviewer, well, that's something you should never do. You should avoid language that feels or is personal or judgmental. I did this once. It was a long time ago in a team where many of us were good friends. We still meet 10 years after from time to time for a few beers. And we did a code review for each other. And then in a day, my senior manager called me and she asked me, like, Sandor, what was that? I said, what do you mean? That code review. Don't worry about it. You know we are friends. We're just mocking each other. She said, well, I wouldn't mind, but we are trying to onboard another team to maintain this code. And they also read those comments, and they are afraid of the team. It was that bad. So then I understood that it's not only about your immediate colleagues and the author and the few reviewers. Comments stay there, and others can read them. So beware. And well, even if it's not for a joke, it's really not about the who, but about the what. So, do you remember a point in your life when someone told you that I know you couldn't do it? Even Boromir would do it better. Don't be shy. I heard those things. Not in a professional context, but it can happen at work. You just phrase it differently. Oh, let me explain that again. I didn't know that it's too early for you to understand that. That's very personal, and it makes things about the who, not about the what. And that's something you should never, ever do. You shouldn't blame the other, because, well, we are all in this together. We do our best to write the best code we can. The best might not be the same for different people, but you have to assume that everyone does its work with their best intentions. And if not, because I have to admit that's sometimes not the case, but if it's not the case, then some nasty comments will not solve the problem. And you cannot solve the problem. We are all learning. And don't forget that kindness scales better than harsh criticism in every context. So still about the tone, about the language. Don't be bossy. Don't use commanding language. Even if you just want to say, oh, change that, that's probably not the right wording. You should phrase it more, you should phrase your feedback differently. Please consider this. Have you thought about that? You want to invite people to collaborate with you instead of complying to what you said. And even if you are a senior developer, even if you are the most senior developer in the team, you should stay humble, both as an author, as a reviewer, because, well, you might not be right. But even if you are right, you lose nothing by being a nice person. Now, I'm leaving the tone, the emotional part a bit behind. Well, maybe not the emotional. as you will see. It's also a problem when a comment lacks priority. As an author, I want to understand, if I read your comment, what you expect me to do. Do you expect me to change things or just to consider things? Maybe you are just asking something. Maybe you are giving me a kudos. So maybe, maybe it's a blocker issue that you pointed out, or you just want me to consider to use a different approach, which can be done later, by the way. Or maybe it's just in it, you take it or leave it. That's a personal preference. Maybe you ask a question, or you want to give me a kudos. It's a nice job. Do you give such comments from time to time? A lot of people, that's good. I hope if I ask this question in a year, I would see more hands, because it's really encouraging when someone says, hey, that's a nice piece of code. So make it clear what you expect as a reviewer, and then I won't be frustrated, like, okay, what should I do with this now? Also, when you make a small comment which lacks explanation or educational value, I'll say that's a missed opportunity, because it can be frustrating for the authors. They just say, okay, change this, or use that, but okay, but why? And then in any case, where do I find more information? If you give such short comments, you miss a chance to teach. You miss a chance to share your reasoning. And if you don't share your reasoning, maybe the author will blindly comply and you are happy with that, but maybe they will just push back. Because, well, I don't know, I don't understand, I don't care. It works on my machine, at least. Also, when everything gets commented, that can be really frustrating. Probably you all saw this meme, like, okay, you create a pull request of 1,000 lines, you get one comment. If you create a pull request of 10 lines, then you get at least 10 comments. That's very frustrating. If you receive so many comments, it will be overwhelming, it will be discouraging, and it will create an impression that you are under rigid control, you are under micromanagement, and people around you think that there is only one way to do things right, which, well, especially in C++, is not really the case. And we need some autonomy as developers. And maybe not every line will be perfect. Maybe even as a reviewer, I say, maybe we could do it a bit differently. Focus on the big things, and don't forget that you can still change things. And if you really, really need to make so many comments, then maybe there's a better way to make those comments. Maybe you can sit down with the author and do some pair programming you can go through together, and it will be less discouraging than just shoveling dozens of comments in a pull request. But also, as an author, you can do bad things. You can create a pull request that's poorly prepared. When you share something that's not green yet, unless you specifically say that I'm looking for some early feedback if I have the big picture right, well, don't share something that's not green. Do a self-review first, because it will help you catching the obvious issues. And yes, there is the author bias that I mentioned, but still probably you will find some things, and that's better if you find it and not others. Pull request is too big. Maybe you want to make several smaller ones, especially if it's a mix of unrelated changes. Break them down. Don't mix refactoring with bug fixes or new features. Create several ones. And if it's a bit bigger, sometimes, okay, even if it's a small one, give some description. And maybe you even want to to give some entry points to the reviewers that, okay, I had to update the call site at 100 places, but this is where the real change is. Start your review from there. It's really helpful for the reviewers. So let's have a quick recap. If feedback arrives too late, then the context might have been lost, and it will cause frustration or extra rework. If you focus on the nits, maybe the big picture is not checked, and that's a problem. It can be quite expensive to overcome that. If you use harsh, judgmental, or personal tone, it will erode the trust, it will feel personal rather than helpful, and it will discourage discussion in the team. If your comments sound bossy or commanding, it feels like micromanagement. Don't do that. If your comments don't have clear priority, it will leave the author unsure whether the comment needs an action or what kind of action they need. If your comment lacks explanation, then you miss the learning opportunity or teaching opportunity, and it might even feel arbitrary. Or if everything gets commented, it's overwhelming, and it kills autonomy, at least the feeling of that. Also, as an author, make sure that your pull requests are well prepared, and you don't give too much unnecessary work to the reviewers who might lose focus at the end. Okay, so I want to bring some fresh air. I want to share the AIR formula for writing better code review comments. AIR is an acronym because we all love acronyms, especially if they are 3 characters long. A stands for action. Action, what should be done? In your code review comment, in your comment, you should be explicit about what you expect, what you want the author to do, but make sure that it's a suggestion, not a comment. So you invite the other for collaboration. You know, you can use some words like consider, perhaps, could we. It reads better because, as I said, it encourages discussion. I stands for information. You explain why what you ask for matters. You can explain your reasoning clearly, and it will help the author to understand your intention behind that comment. And it also helps building a shared knowledge in the team, because you know, most probably it's not only the author who will read your comment, but others as well, at least in the team, but as we saw sometimes beyond. And R stands for reference, where you can learn more. You can link some style guides, internal or external documents, or relevant Slack Teams discussions. It helps to justify your feedback, you know, without the need to debate in the pull request. And also it will help to teach more, or actually it helps the author to learn more about a given issue. So if we put this all together, let's have a look at a couple of typical bad comments and see how we could rewrite them. Rename this. You're laughing, but I'm sure you've seen comments like this. So there are a couple of problems. There is no context. There is no reasoning. But okay, maybe you have the context, but there's clearly no reasoning why. Maybe sometimes you don't need, but we'll get back to that. There is no real learning opportunity there. And, well, it's a bit too direct, tiny bit. And now, here's the longer one with this formula. Consider renaming this variable to make it clearer that it represents a configuration object. It's the action part. It confused me at first because I assumed it held the results. That's the information part. Imagine maybe it was just an R. We all use that, right? Or naming conventions suggest clarity over brevity. See choosing name sections in the style guide. Well, This is much nicer. And, well, you might say that it takes a long time. Well, if you get used to it, it doesn't take that much time. You know, you spend 10 seconds more typing, that's it. And maybe you even end up with templates with some links. And you know, sometimes people don't even know that you have a style guide, and that's the way they learn it. Not joking. Let's bring another example. Don't use magic numbers. Yeah, don't use them, but what if the other doesn't know what a magic number is, right? So we can say, consider replacing 42 with a named constant, action. It's not clear what this value represents, so maintaining or changing it later might be risky. That's the information part. And we recommend symbolic constants for readability, C, C++ core guidelines ES45. Maybe that's the part where the author learned about the existence of magic numbers and the C++ core guidelines. Look, we are here at a conference. Probably you all know about this, but many don't, and it's not necessarily their fault. Because if we don't take the time to share all this information, then how will they get it? And let me bring the last one. Why did you do it like this? Well, you know, I could use a different tone. Why did you do it like this? I thought it's not as bad. But maybe if you read it in a code review, that's how you read it, how I said it the first time. So obviously there is a problem there. So a better one. Could you explain why this approach was chosen? I'm wondering if it's for readability or if there's a constraint I'm missing. We try to document non-obvious design choices in code comments. See implementation comments. I think that's a link to the Google style guide, by the way. So this exists. So I think this is better. Let's have a quick recap. A is for action. So it describes what to do, like please consider renaming. I is for information, to clarify the meaning. And R is for reference, to learn more or justify about things, you know, you can share some parts like C or team style guide or whatever there. And I've seen some people shaking their heads, and I get it. Should you always use this formula? Well, maybe in a perfect word, you would write all your comments like this. Maybe even in an imperfect word. But in any case, the word is not perfect. We are tired. We are overwhelmed and often stressed, maybe because of poor code review comments. And sometimes, you know, a typo is just a typo. You will not write half a page about a typo. So what I would suggest, and let me bring this back. What I would suggest is to use this formula when you think that there is a teaching opportunity. Because if you know that, okay, they just forgot about something that they already know, then there is probably not a lot of added value in writing these comments, unless you think that there are other people reading it and they would be happy to read those elaborate comments. But yes, when there's a teaching opportunity, that's when you should use this, I think. So it's time to conclude. Code reviews are more than just a process. They are a tool and also an investment for code quality, for learning together in the team, and also for mentorship. The main challenges with code reviews are timing, clarity, and the tone you use. The AIR formula, so action, information, reference, can make comments more educative and actionable. And I think with better reviews, we can build stronger teams, we'll learn more, and will have a lasting impact on the team. So I have a call to action slide for you. I'd like to ask you to do a couple of things. Encourage self-reviews in your teams, unless it's already a practice, so people can catch the obvious and it's better for them, better for the reviewers. Think about how you do code reviews and just try to pick one thing to improve about it. Improve one thing how you give feedback. And try this formula. Don't use it all the time. Just try it when there is a teaching opportunity in your next review and think about how it feels. Try to see how people react when they see these. And take the time to talk to your team about your review culture. And start seeing code reviews not only as a tool for catching flows, but also as an opportunity for mentoring. Thank you. Any questions? I think we still have 2 minutes.
I have one. Great talk, thank you. Being a developer is complicated. You need skills as a reviewer, as a developer, as an architect, as a people person, and not everyone has equal set of skills. So let's say you have a really talented developer who is really bad at code reviews, doing them. But very good at generating actually pull requests. How would you handle that in a team so the team doesn't get overloaded and you don't lose any talent?
That's an excellent question, thank you. And it reminds me that I forgot one story. Because yes, I remember working with a brilliant developer and he made all that very useful comments, but after a while, after a very short while, most of the people did everything that they could, and even a bit more, to avoid him from reviewing their code. Well, one problem was, I think, that nobody told him that there is a problem with his style. And maybe you don't dare to tell that person. So in that case, I would suggest going through your manager, because your manager can probably handle this better. And well, with that, I just push away the problem, right? But sometimes you have to do that. If you are on good terms, maybe you can tell the person that they have to somehow change their style. And I think management have more direct possibilities to handle that. They can clearly say that, hey, you are being a jerk on the code review. Please, please phrase your words differently. And they might even send them, to some trainings, to some communication trainings. Because yes, this is about communication skills. And not everyone who is great at code review, who is great at writing code, is great at interpersonal communication, and that needs skills and learning. So probably they have to go to some specific training.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I have a question from online from Mani. Shouldn't code reviews also cover formatting, naming, typo style, obsolete comments along the way with a big picture? Why is detail-oriented reviews are getting criticized?
Maybe I did a bad job in telling that I think details are also important, but often we only focus on the details and we forget about the big picture. Because making the details right, fixing the details is cheaper, even later, than changing things about the big picture. So what I want to say is that focus on the big picture as well, not only on the details, something that's often simpler or seems simpler.
And then there's another one by Scott. Do you have any tips how to deal with reviews when devs aren't always acting in the best intentions? For example, they refuse to adhere to guidelines, standards, or requirements, even when they are asked in kind and respectful ways multiple times and already have received mentoring.
Sorry, can you repeat it a bit slower?
Sorry. When devs don't have best intentions, they have been reminded to not to adhere to guidelines or review to style guides, and don't do this, and have even been to trainings or something.
So if I understand well, what to do if people are already reminded to follow to the guidelines, but they don't do that, right? Well, keep commenting. Don't approve, because you have to assume that they want to merge their code. So in a while, they will do what they need to do. And again, if I told that you should assume that everyone has the best intentions, and if not, code review comments will not solve that. Then probably you have to involve the team to discuss that why that's the situation. Not every problem will be solved through gentle code review comments.
There are more, but we're out of time.
Okay. Thank you.